Hello students. I hope you all are fit and fine and doing well in your studies. Students, today we are going to start chapter number 4, that is metals and non-metals. So today we will talk about the introduction of the chapter, like what is metals, what are non-metals, what is element, what is compound, what is matter. All these things today we will discuss in this class, and please, I request to you, just try to understand all the topics. So let's start our science class. That is materials, metals and non-metals. It means that in this chapter we are going to read about two type of materials, that is metals and non-metals. So before we start reading about metals and non-metals, we should first know that what is the meaning of materials. So let's find out what is the meaning of materials. So students, materials refers to the matter from which a thing is made. Example, metals, plastic, paper, wood, etc. So I hope the meaning of material is clear to you. So student, we have read that material refers to matter from which an object is made. Now we are talking about classification of matter. So what is matter? Any substance which occupies space and has mass is called matter. What is mass? So mass is the measure of the amount of matter in an object. On the basis of chemical properties, matter is divided into pure substance and mixture. Now pure substance is again divided into elements and compounds. In this chapter, we have to read about elements only, but for knowledge, we have to read about all these things also. So let's talk about element. An element is a substance which is made up of only one kind of atom. For example, sulfur element is made up of only sulfur atom. Next we have compounds. So compounds are chemical substances made up of two or more elements that are chemically bounded together in a fixed ratio. For example, we have water, that is H2O. Next we have NaCl. NaCl is common salt. Next we have methane, that is CH4. We have baking soda, that is NaHCO3. So different example we have for compounds. Next we have mixture. So mixture is again divided into two groups, that is homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. Now what is homogeneous mixture? So a homogeneous mixture has the same uniform appearance and composition. Now example we have water and sugar and water and salt. Next we have heterogeneous mixture. So what is heterogeneous mixture? Heterogeneous mixture consists of visibly different substances. Example we have sandy water, soil sample, oil and water. So all these are example of heterogeneous mixture. So students, we have to focus on elements in this chapter. Now see that element is again classified into metals, non-metals, metalloids and noble gases. There are total 118 elements are known to us. So students, let's talk about elements in details. So element is a substance which cannot be split up into two or more simpler substances by usual chemical methods like applying heat, light and electricity. Now iron, oxygen, magnesium, etc. are example of elements. The elements themselves are the simplest substances, that is why they cannot be broken down or split up into many more simpler substances. Now student, the smallest particle of an element is called atom. A sample of an element contains only one kind of atom. This gives us another definition of element, which can be written as an element is a substance which is made up of only one kind of atom. So, elements are pure substances which are made up of only one kind of atom. Example, gold, aluminium, iron, copper, etc. And atoms are smallest particle of an element. Example, gold present only gold atoms. So students, I hope that the meaning and definition of elements is clear to you, that element is a substance which cannot be split up into two or more simpler substances by chemical means. Elements contain only one kind of atoms. Students, let's talk about metals. You know that all the elements can be divided into two main groups, metals and non-metals. All the metals have similar properties and all the non-metals have also similar properties. But the properties of non-metals are opposite to those of metals. So let's start with metals. So let's talk about definition. A metal is an element that is malleable, ductile and conducts electricity. Students, let's talk about the physical properties of metals. So student, let's talk about malleability. The property which allows the metal to be hammered into thin sheet or foil is called malleability. Most of the metals are malleable. Gold, silver, aluminium and copper are highly malleable metals. Because of this property of metals, they are very useful to us. For example, aluminium foils are widely used for safe packing of foodstuffs, medicines, chocolates, etc. So, malleability is the property of metals which allow it to be hammered into thin sheets without breaking. So students, the picture which is given on the screen is an example of malleability of metals. So you can see that how aluminium is used for packing foodstuffs. This is gold foil and this is example of silver foil. That silver foil is used to wrap on sweets. Okay student, I have one question for you. Which is the most malleable metal? So, answer is gold is the most malleable metal. Most of the elements are metals, non-metals, metalloids and noble gases. Which one is the correct option? Give me answer fast. Give me answer. So, answer is that most of the elements are metals. Students, one more question I have. What is the opposite of malleability? Yes, the opposite of malleability is brittleness. And what is the meaning of brittleness? Brittleness means breaks into small pieces. See the picture of glass, how glass is just break into a number of small pieces. So, glass is not a metal and non-metal, it is an example of compound. Student, look at the picture. This is gold foil and this is what? This is coal pieces. So, coal is a form of carbon. And what is carbon? Carbon is a non-metal. So, if we hammered on these coal pieces, what will happen? They just break into a number of pieces. It means that non-metals are non-malleable as they cannot be beaten into thin sheets on hammering. The property due to which non-metals break up into pieces on hammering is called brittleness. Non-metals are generally brittle. For example, sulfur and coal break up into small pieces on hammering. But some non-metals such as hydrogen and oxygen in gaseous state and bromine in liquid state do not show the property of brittleness. Students, let's talk about another physical property, that is ductility. Most of the metal can be drawn or stretched into thin wires. The property which allows the metal to be drawn into wire is called ductility. Gold and silver are among the best ductile metals. Copper, aluminium, iron and magnesium metals can be easily drawn into thin wires, so they are very ductile. The wire inside the electric cables are mostly made up of copper metal, whereas non-metals are not non-ductile. When stretched, non-metals like sulfur and phosphorus break into pieces and do not form wires. Students, let's see the picture of copper wire and aluminium wire. So, copper and aluminium, they are metals and they show the property of ductility. It means that copper and aluminium, they can be easily drawn into thin wires because they are metals and they are showing the property of ductility. So students, now you know that non-metal is an element that is neither malleable nor ductile and does not conduct electricity. So students, let's see the picture. Carbon and sulfur, both are non-metals. So students, let's talk about physical state of metals and non-metals. So first we'll talk about physical state of metals. So most of the metals are solid at room temperature. Mercury is the only metal known to occur in liquid state in nature. No metal exists in gaseous state. Now, non-metals can be solid, liquid or gases at room temperature. So, non-metals are generally solid or gases. Non-metals like sulfur, phosphorus and carbon are solid, while hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen are gases. Bromine is the only non-metal which exists as a liquid at room temperature. So students, let's see the example of solid state of non-metal: carbon, sulfur, phosphorus. Liquid state example of non-metal: bromine. So bromine is the only non-metal which exists as a liquid at room temperature. In gaseous state, we have oxygen, hydrogen, chlorine, fluorine, nitrogen. So they are example of non-metal at gaseous state. Now carbon dioxide is also gas, but it is not a non-metal, it is a compound. So students, that's all for today's class. Your homework is that go through chapter and revise all the things which I taught you in this video. Read chapter again and again and try to understand the things which I taught you in this video. You have to make notes also. So just make neat and clean notes in your science copy and send me in group. So students, main thing is that keep on smiling, stay home, stay healthy, use mask and sanitizer and maintain social distancing also. So in our next video we will discuss about and compare also the properties of metals and non-metals. Thanks for watching this video.